when he was talking to that one lady and he was talking about her nails, he was just like, "Ah, yes, we're sitting here." Oh, oh my God, what is with those nails? Right. Oh, I'm physically repulsed. Hey guys, you know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent big ugly himself, Omari Ellis Feo Grande on YouTube, and I am back once again for another movie conversation with one of my best friends in the world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hello, sir. Thanks for having me back.
Always.
Love doing this.
I love what this thing we're doing. And what we're doing here is a show called This Guy Hasn't Seen, where we pretty much have been trading movies and other forms of pop culture back and forth with one another that the other guy has not experienced. Just kind of broadening our libraries of, consumption of entertainment. Anyway, and this week we got a movie that I had not seen personally, and that movie was told me by Bill. What movie are we talking about? I know they got the title, but
we are going to be doing the 2014 film Grand Budapest Hotel. It is written and directed by Wes Anderson. A writer encounters the owner of an aging high-class hotel who tells him of his early years serving as a lobby boy in the hotel's glorious years under its exceptional concierge. This film is, and really I believe this conversation starts with the director, Wes Anderson. He is what many would call an auteur, and I've been guilty of throwing out that word and not truly knowing the meaning. And so before we got going today, I wanted to actually pull the definition and make sure I wasn't just using that flippantly and that it actually meant something.
That's smart. That's smart, because I was like, is that just not a fancy way of saying Arthur?
Well, no, it's specifically
I know it's got
used,
something to it.
Yeah, it's specifically used for directors.
Okay.
And it's the specific definition, according to Oxford, is a filmmaker whose personal influence and artistic control over a movie are so great that the filmmaker is regarded as the author of the movie. And
okay.
So I guess it's referring to the kind of directors that have their hands in every single department.
Yeah.
That they have total control over their film, and thus there is a very consistent look and vibe and theme throughout their career. You're talking
Tarantino.
You're talking kind of Tarantino. You're talking Alfred Hitchcock.
Mm-hmm.
There are several directors you could throw under that moniker, and I believe Wes Anderson would be one of them, because his films almost exist in a genre of themselves. It's not a universe of our own. Things do not, at times, physics do not work the same. Reality is not the same. It's often, in this personal case, there's very clearly a segment of characters in this film that are German Nazis, but they are never called that, and their uniforms do not exactly look like that. They feel like that, but they do not. They're
I was
not.
asking myself, was the German thing great? They say the German. I don't remember Germany being great. So I'm here. Like you said, it's like I know that that's what they're supposed to be, but I don't think that's exactly what they are. I got that feeling throughout, so I agree.
And there's a very specific look to almost every frame of a Wes Anderson film. There's a very specific tone. There's a cadence to his writing that I've also known that he is very, very specific on set. He blocks you incredibly specifically. He is going to give you not only, it is not loose of like, so when you walk in, I want you to play around here, eventually make your way over to that spot. It is on this word, you are to step here. Your arms should be in these positions at these words, let alone you deviating from the script. That is not occurring. It is, you cannot remove a comma. You cannot remove a single piece of punctuation. You cannot change a single word. So that I think all kind of encapsulates the auteur, which may be a nice way of saying it.
Yeah. So it's having that signature style, but more like to an nth degree. But there's signature styles where that's a so and so movie, but then there's the auteurs where, hey, it's that, but on another level.
Right. Like there were a few films in the early 2000s, mid 2000s that were trying to be a Wes Anderson, but I don't know, I'm not smart enough to know why, but there's no mistaking, and nobody else is doing it the way he does it.
Gotcha.
Sometimes to a fault. There's a regular criticism to Wes Anderson that he cares more about the wallpaper in the back of the scene than the characters expressing emotion, kind of thing. So that's
and again, I remember part of the reason you had told me about this was because I mentioned in an earlier episode or off screen that I hadn't seen many, if any, Wes Anderson films.
Correct.
And
You said I don't think I've seen many, and then I listed every Wes Anderson film, and you had not seen any of them.
all right, but I've seen films with similar vibes, so
yes.
More to attest to what you were saying. I was like, oh, this is one of those kind of movies. Mm-hmm. Which I will get into the thing. But yeah, as for why I hadn't seen it, I didn't notice was a thing. I didn't notice was a thing. Apparently I didn't know. Well, I knew Wes Anderson existed. I'd heard the name. I also constantly get him mixed up with Craven, the Scream guy.
Yeah.
So whenever I heard the name, that's always where my mind went. Wes Craven. All right. So never thought about it. Fantastic Mr. Fox. I looked at it and the type of animation, and I was like, that's cool that they're doing the kind of retro animation thing, but I don't really watch a lot of Wallace and Gromit and stuff, so I'm gonna sit this one out.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. So it was, again, I just nothing against Wes Anderson. Heard he was great. Just never got around to the movie. And Grand Budapest Hotel, like what? How did you first see it yourself?
Well, like I was saying, I think the conversation that I'm trying to have is beyond the film and more about Wes Anderson himself.
Oh, okay.
I am a Wes Anderson fan, and that's how I ended up seeing it. That's kind of he's understandably pretty divisive in that way. You kind of either love his films or they do not connect with you. And I believe once you see one, you know the palette immediately, to where 5 seconds of anything else from his catalog, you will instantly know, oh hey, that's the guy that made that hotel movie that Bill made me watch. I bet. And you'll be right. because it's those shots of the symmetry and those sort of things, and like I said, the tone and pace and rhythm of his dialogue.
Yeah, definitely with the tone and pacing of things.
So that was just only a continuation of it. I slipped a little bit. There's a period of his career where he makes a film called Darjeeling Limited, which was, by all accounts, not a good film.
Okay.
It's not a good movie. Most consider it not a good movie, and lost me a little bit. I believe that might be when he watched Fantastic, when he kind of moved to animation for a minute and worked on Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Okay.
It took me quite a long time to see Fantastic Mr. Fox. At one point, I don't know how long it is, but he makes a movie called Moonrise Kingdom, and that kind of re-engages my fandom in him. But before that, it would have been Rushmore, which is one of his, I believe, his second film.
Okay.
And then the Royal Tenenbaums, which if you were wanting to be portrayed as a film geek or like someone who's into movies when we were 18,
yeah,
that was the movie. That was the movie.
I remember a lot of people talking about the Royal Tenenbaums and it being great. Every time I hear it, I think of Christmas trees. I always consider it to be a Christmas movie because of that old Tannenbaum or whatever the other way like sound. That's like old Christmas tree.
Right.
So part of why I never saw that. The Royal Christmas trees. That's all I could think when they were talking about it. It's kind of like that other thing you were asking me about.
So you have Moonrise Kingdom come out, and
Yes.
I went and saw that with a couple of friends in theaters. Boom. My fandom is immediately re-engaged. I really enjoyed Moonrise Kingdom. Again, that's another one that kind of sits on the fence with even his fandom. They're like, I don't know, maybe. It gets accused for being overly schmaltzy at times, which sometimes his work can go there. But it definitely re-engaged my fandom. And then there was big talks about this one and how he had gotten a pretty decent butt. Like this was going to be the most expensive Wes Anderson film he's ever done. And they started the cast started getting announced and things started dropping in that vein. And there was a lot of buzz associated with it being an Oscar contender. I believe it released during the Oscar movie season.
Okay.
And so I was absolutely hyped. Almost positive saw this in theaters and then bought it digitally as soon as it came out.
All right.
What so I've kind of said my piece on the Wes Anderson thing just to set that table, because I know it's just like he's got a very specific look. He makes very specific movies, and so he can be divisive to you or any two or one viewer we might have. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there, that's like he's just one of those guys that you're like, that he's ended up getting a group of fans that are like, all right, I'm here. He's gonna make some shit, and I'm here for it. Since you knew none of that, when you sat down to see the movie, what were you expecting?
All right, so what was I expecting with this movie? With the name like the Grand Budapest Hotel, I had no idea. I was like, comedy maybe something along the lines of here's a day or a random like event at a hotel and we gotta deal with the wacky customers that come in or something like that. You know what I mean? Like this is a day in the life of the hotel where suddenly the life of the hotel itself is at stake. And we got to have the best weekend possible.
Right.
Look how wacky
we
it
have
is.
to make $100,000 this week or else the hotel goes under and we all lose our jobs.
Either that or like it's a hotel version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where you come to this hotel or you got, let's say, someone's first day on the job at this place and everything's just fuck shit insane, and you're like, how does a place like this exist? So that's kind of what I thought it could be, maybe. Then I read the little synopsis and I'm like, that you mentioned at the start, because I watched it on Amazon Prime, and that little sentence is right before you click it. I'm like, well, now I really don't know what to think. What? Okay, we'll see what this is. But I watched it. Yeah, I was like, all right, let's see what happens. And initially, something, I forget exactly what it was, but I was like, okay, so I'm pretty sure it is indeed. I'm like, oh, this is one of those British comedy type movies where just the way that opening scene looked with the guy, like the writer, like moving around, I'm like, okay, this is the brand of humor I should prepare for better or worse. Usually for the better, because it's just like, okay, once you see enough of these.
Yeah, like British humor is like a very specific. It's a very specific humor.
Yeah, and once you get used to it, it's like, aha, I too can laugh now. But yeah. So I guess, what was I expecting? Not exactly what I got, but
right. Well, when you so it the film opens kind of weird. We're dealing with, I guess, technically 3 different timelines.
Yeah.
We have the, or is it 4? So we have the bronze bust.
Yeah.
Which is of the old version of Jude Law's character. Right, and we have her reading to the bus, or she's reading.
Yeah, she's mentioning something or other.
And then we have the timeline with Zero as an old man.
Yes.
And the author from the opening as a young man. And then not young, but Jude Law.
Yeah.
And then we have the original timeline of Monsieur Gustave and Zero.
Yes.
It takes us a minute till we get to the movie, which is Monsieur Gustave and Zero.
Yeah.
So I want initial reactions of the actual movie, of like the path of getting there, and then your initial reactions once we were finally living in the timeline of Ray Fiennes as Monsieur Gustave.
Okay, so movie opens up, like you said. I'll put the notes as I have it, if you will. Opens up, the stuff's going on, like she's talking, you said you got the bust, and then you got the other narrator. I'm like, okay, this is a very odd opening, but as I mentioned, I felt like it set the tone for the rest of the movie, because this is one of those, I know what to expect. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be into it, but okay, it set the tone. I at least can look at this with this kind of. And then another narrator comes in, because the old dude is talking about his young self going to talk to old Zero, and he starts talking. I'm like, we got multiple narrators. Who are you? Just so, and then the bath scene. Oh yeah, the bath scene. I literally just typed. I typed, "This is weird," and I put in parentheses just so I could remember. I typed this during the bath scene, where just the old Zero comes up. I'm a fan of your work. What? I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of you. What are we doing? Just I was just lost, and eventually they're sitting there. He orders this big dinner, and I'm like, wait, what's about to go on? And then he starts talking, and I was like, what the heck? Why did we keep going back? But then he sees Gustav and...
Wait, we're in a story within a story within a story?
And they have moments like that throughout the movie where they take the bit and then they do it like 2 or 3 more times, and it's like, okay, yep, that's exactly what I would expect. Again, you said it, like, it has its mark. It's so quintessentially it that it reeked of it. So, but once Gustav came up, I was just like, all right, I love this character, just the way he had that stereotypical, like, you know, witty comments, and then he would, when he was talking to that one lady and he was talking about her nails, he was just like, oh yes, we're sitting here, oh my god, what is with those nails? Right. You know, like, oh, I'm physically repulsed. Jeez. He flipped on a dime. And, you know, by the time it got to Jeff Goldblum being in the movie, I was like, oh, hey, wait. Oh, and then suddenly just start noticing people left and right. When fucking Willem Dafoe first comes up and he turns and you get that dramatic sound thing. Oh.
Did you notice Tilda Swinton was the old lady?
What else has Tilda Swinton done?
Who's Tilda Swinton?
I know the name. I can't put a face with it. So probably not.
She's a really prominent actress in like Oscar type films, and let's see, what she was very controversially the Ancient One in Doctor Strange.
Oh, okay, fair.
Yeah, she's the old lady. In that
I knew I'd heard the name. I definitely heard the name Tilda Swinton. I clearly had seen a film with Tilda Swinton in it, but no, I did not know that was her. But that's pretty cool. And there's other cameos throughout. Took me a second to realize that Adrian Brody was old dude. Dimitri. Yeah. I was like, I think it was after I saw Jeff Goldblum that I was like, wait a minute, was that other guy? Oh shit, that is. Oh
and
shit.
Then we get a ton of cameos when the Society of the Crossed Keys is announced.
Yeah.
Which you know, us going to Cross Keys Middle School. It's a little bit of a Easter egg there.
Part of me was like, as I was like, I wonder if I'm gonna say it or Bill's gonna say the Cross Keys Middle School thing tomorrow. But I saw it too.
I had thought about it until literally this exact moment. Cross Keys Middle School.
Yeah, and I love that scene.
We get a ton of cameos because that scene runs like it's like a phone chain bit, which I think is kind of a reoccurring bit in his films. He'll frequently do that kind of thing. It has, I don't know, it's so hard to describe it. Like, I was thinking about it in the car on the way home, and I just remembered like almost dollhouse aesthetic.
Okay.
Like, it's almost like he built the house, or he built the whole hotel and then chopped off the front of it.
That's exactly how it feels.
And like and I, you know, everything is so manicured, and it's I feel like that's an appropriate vibe.
Yeah,
like,
manicured. There's like not a lot not a lot of crowded camera shots. Like, it's all the minimal amount of people that need to be on the screen for what he's conveying.
Yeah.
Are there. And
But that sequence is a very Wes Anderson-y sequence.
Because it just kept
going through
move,
that phone chain.
I'm like, all right, nope, there it is again. Go ahead, call somebody else. Call somebody else. Yes, just do it.
So at one point we get Bill Murray, we get a bunch. I can't. I'm blocking right now of the couple of dudes that I'm picturing's name. We also have, speaking of cameos, we have Edward Norton as like the chief officer of the Nazis in the area.
And when he showed up on a train, I was like, even Edward Norton? Oh, they just got people in this movie. Okay.
Yeah, he's also one of those directors that kind of keeps like a stable of actors. They almost treat themselves as like their own little acting troupe. Like Bill Murray he is the one specific who is literally in every single Wes Anderson film. He's a voice in both of the animated films, Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox, and he's in all of the others. Owen Wilson is, I believe, in almost every one of them. Owen Wilson also helped write several of them in his career. He was Wes Anderson's co-writer when they came up. Willem Dafoe is in almost every Wes Anderson. So
I love Willem Dafoe.
It's kind of a stable that reoccurs. I'm trying to think. Ralph Fiennes oddly might have actually been new to the Wes Anderson universe this in this film. Jeff Goldblum might have also been new, maybe not. But like Jason Schwartzman, another cameo we get in the Cross Keys scene, and he is also a regular frequenter of Wes Anderson films.
Yeah, but so I'm like, that's great. I will say I did like that, and there were numerous times in this film where I legit was just laughing, such as 90% of the time Willem Dafoe was on the screen in general in this movie. This is one of those things, kind of like how you were talking about, set it off, you're like, I think I'm just a Queen Latifah fan. I feel like I'm just a Willem Dafoe fan.
yeah, you're just a Willem Dafoe.
Like when he came out to do the skiing thing and he just...
Oh my god, the skiing scene is amazing. And I love the score that they did along with it. It's wonderful. I should note, that brings me to noting that this film was nominated for many Oscars. It won in costume design, makeup and hair, original score, and production design. It was also nominated for Best Picture of the Year, Best Director for Wes Anderson, Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, and Original Screenplay.
Woo!
So it was a winner in the artsy, in almost all of it, cleaned house in almost all of the art department categories, and then was nominated in all of the big boys, but did not get it. And I remember there was also a lot of, I believe, Ralph Fiennes topped everybody's snubbed list that year for a acting nomination.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a different Ralph Fiennes than we may have ever seen. And I think he does a very good job. Like you said, you just kind of love the guy for his harsh honesty. And like at one point he's like, I've loved her many times, Zero. And Zero is like, Monsieur Gustave, she was 84. And I've had older, Zero. When you get older, it's no longer about filet mignon or something else. You gotta go for the cheap cuts, and I actually prefer those. Much more flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love him. I love him.
Just straight. Yeah, exactly. He's straightforward and honest, and just says what's on his mind. Sometimes to a fault.
Yeah. I also love what probably is the other two main, what you would call the other two largest roles, two main characters, is Zero, played by Tony Ravioli, which we would know from the Spider-Man movies, the new Spider-Man movies.
He's
again, very controversially, he is Flash, which pissed off a lot of the internet because he wasn't a big brooding jock. But I love him in those Spider-Man movies.
I love him in those Spider-Man movies too. Because he wasn't a big brooding jock. Yeah.
Yeah, they went a different way. He's still a bully, but it's just a different.
Yeah.
It's just a different way.
Yeah, it worked. It worked for what they were setting up. So, or the universe they have established, and I had no problem with him as Flash in those movies.
So yeah, we know him from that. He's Zero. The other, probably Ray Fiennes' second hand in the film, and then his character's love interest played by. She is like one of the new It actresses, and we will be watching another film of hers very soon from a friend of ours who's already kind of thrown out a suggestion.
Ooh.
And that's her name is complicated because she's Irish, maybe Scottish, and it is Saoirse Ronan.
Okay.
Saoirse. Right. That's the thing. Is she pronounces it Saoirse Ronan, but because she's Irish or Scottish, it is spelled a little differently than we are used to. It is spelled Saoirse. And I'm throwing it in the chat here just so you can see that. That is
Saoirse.
Saoirse. Saoirse Ronan, but she's in a lot of. She's a very in-demand, serious actress who's been doing a lot of serious drama work and getting nominated for a lot of Oscars. I don't know if she's won one yet, but she is. She's a good actress, and she's great in this film. And so they're probably the three leads, and I enjoy all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any standout, either good or bad, in performances from actors? Any of those cameos that we listed? Any specific moments or scenes?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, caught me off guard at first with the guys punching each other in the face. And then the last punch was Dafoe. Especially because Willem Dafoe just has the perfect face. He just has like the perfect like villainous face as it is.
He's revealing that he's got brass knuckles on too.
Yeah.
That's another reason for the dinner. He's like, reveal. I didn't just punch him. I knocked his shit out.
Let's see. I love the escape from jail thing which again I mentioned the jokes that they just keep going and they just try to get as many little extra reps of how long. Okay, we get it. How long can you go past that? And I've done that kind of humor myself a lot with my friends and stuff over the years. So that's funny. All right. And the shootout out of nowhere near the climax.
Right.
Just pow, pow. And then they all just start shooting around the building. And I'm just like, what the is this? I mainly liked that I did not know exactly how the plot was going to play out, while at the same time knowing kind of how the plot was going to weigh out. The second,
I mean, yeah, you see in the, if a sharp-eyed viewer will notice that you see at the very beginning of the movie that the crux of the plot, Boy with Apple, the very, very expensive, highly valued painting is sitting behind Jason Schwartzman in this semi-shitty, semi-abandoned former luxury hotel in the lobby of the Jude Law China.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you a little bit of a hint, and you also know that you're talking to old man Zero.
Yeah.
So you're already starting with a little bit of
hint. They definitely win out in the end, because this is how he came to inherit it, at least as far as that goes. But like, dude put the thing in the painting, a little confidential thing, and you see that, and I'm like, so that's gonna be the thing that says, yes, this is his fucking thing. But I didn't expect it to turn into oh, you murdered her. Oh no, now you also fully go to jail despite you can't, alibi and all this. No, you in jail. Now we gotta break you out, and then you do this, that, and the other, and then it's like, oh, okay, it's gonna be like, no, the painting is his, or the thing gonna say, oh, my son is, if I'm dead, my son killed, Adrian Brody killed me or some shit. Nope, It didn't even do that. It was just like, nah, he gets everything. And I was like, oh, they really won. Okay. Well, damn. And then just, well, what happened to him? Well, the fucking scene at the very end where we find out why Mr. Gustav, had to leave it to him and stuff. And as far as performance-wise, I did like when old Zero had to be like sad and remembering like the dead people and stuff. Kind of liked his portrayal of that and everything. He did a good job. Everybody had great performances. Flash sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I'm just thinking the two scenes in particular from Ray Fiennes. Like I mentioned, the thing I like, it's weird and creepy but I guess I love that scene that I already went through of him talking about how he happily fucks old ladies. I don't know, like old ladies need love too.
It's very it's very like character, like that's like defining. You know what I mean? Like that it gives you a good psyche into the character and just the way he looks at things in general.
Will do whatever it takes to please his guests. Of his hotel. And so that scene I love, but then there's two other scenes. There's a scene where he's discussing with Zero about how he's a immigrant refugee and how his life has been a struggle, and the character of Gustav suddenly realizes that he's been a complete dick and asshole to this kid after he's had an incredibly hard life to get here, and he just wants to work at his hotel, and he immediately becomes remorseful and tries to honor and respect Zero as much as he can from that moment forward. And that feels like a great moment.
I that is another one of my things. I was like, the argument and immediate makeup, like once they did that.
Yeah, that's a great scene. And then the scene where they get arrested on the train. Monsieur Gustav is he plays that very well, of like a very honorable man who wants to do right, but who's still trying to be as respectful as he possibly can, and like the whole like what's that for? What's that stand for? Franc? And then somebody's like Francis or something like that. Like, oh, I do that. Obviously.
Ferdinand or something like that.
Francis, and he just plays that very well. And then when he has to turn, of like, all right, you dick, he does it really well. And so Ray Fiennes is probably my most standout of this film.
Performance-wise,
him in general as a performance.
I will give you that.
You were to say something about the dude who plays Flash, Tony Ravioli, or Zero.
It took me a while to get used to Zero. Because it took me a while to get used to the fact that that's just what his character was, like delivery wise and stuff.
Yeah,
it was
very just,
it helped me, but once I got used to it, I did think he did a great job. But at first I'm like, what is this guy doing? Also, I thought he kind of looked familiar, but I had no idea where I would have seen him from. But it was a younger version of this guy, the guy that plays Flash. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's why he looked familiar, because he, like everybody else in this, is a successful actor and stuff. But yeah, Ray Fiennes, Gustav.
Yep.
Yes, definitely my favorite part of the movie. Like, he's just great character, and I loved that it was kind of like a different take, if you will. Like, John Wick film, everybody knows John Wick, but it's because they're scared of him. You know, everybody's heard of this dude. That's that dude you do not want to get on the bad side of. This was like that, but everybody loves him. It's everybody who talks about Gustav is like, oh yes, that is the best person ever. Like, the first arrest gets ceased because Edward Norton had met the guy. Like, how dare you?
Yeah. Like, you were so kind to me when I was 5.
Exactly. It's like, how dare you guys should be ashamed of yourself for trying to detect this man in his car. And just like other times throughout the movie, especially with the like, what do you need? I got it. During that scene, just all these people that are like, I'm in.
Well, that's apparently pulled straight from our world of that time. From what I've gathered through doing some clicking here the other day, is that's just like those kind of big marquee fancy hotels of that era. Their job, if you came to their hotel, was to provide all of your needs. If you needed dry cleaning, if you needed us to go get something, if you needed tickets to go somewhere to an event, it's their job to get it for you. And thus, the guy running the hotel and running all of that, like a Monsieur Gustav, was a very respected occupation in that time.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like, of that size and of that time frame, there's maybe 20 hotels across the entire world that size and of that grand scale. And so the guy who's running those joints is a big deal.
Yeah, that's fair. But I did enjoy it. Ray Fiennes was definitely, I'd say, my standout performance of the thing. I agree with you. He got snubbed if he didn't get nominated for something.
Yeah. So, not a whole lot of representation for you to see yourself in. And that can be another very valid criticism of the Wes Anderson universe. It's a criticism I've heard plenty of times, and I can totally get and I can totally see as valid, is the man makes movies about sad rich white people.
and that's fine.
And the Grand Budapest Hotel may be the most exception to that rule.
Fair.
Where it's not like everything else, may be even more like this is just sad wealthy white people.
Fair.
And he's kind of admitted and said, well, what? Let me ask you, where do you think Wes Anderson is from?
I would say Britain, but
okay. The look is not half bad. Like, you're thinking like a very Wes Anderson type character is how Wes Anderson looks. Often in blazers, tweed. You'll have plaid button-ups and odd vintage tailoring.
I don't know if I see him as that kind of like posh or whatever, but I don't know, Britain area,
right?
Just because of type of humor and stuff.
He is from rural Texas,
Okay.
and he grew up just kind of imagining the New York wealthy 20-something-year-old as like the idyllic life. And so that's kind of put a permanent marker on all of his stuff. I would say that is most apparent in what some regard as his best work, The Royal Tenenbaums. I think you're usually in a camp of you think it's this film or you think it's The Royal Tenenbaums, and that is very, very much about savage white people.
Yeah.
So I did
not. Yes, the lack of the representation, while technically noted, I didn't really have a problem with. I'm like, this I forget where Budapest is. I feel like that's near India.
This film does not take place in it.
Okay, it's called the Grand Budapest Hotel, and
that's correct. That is the name of the hotel.
Yes. So.
But it is not in Budapest.
No, it's in some foreign country.
It's in a fictional Eastern European country.
Okay, it's in a fictional Eastern European country. That said, considering I figured it'd be the Eastern European area, wasn't expecting much in that regard.
Right.
Anyhow, and so the absence of it went over my head. It's rare that I will look at a thing where there aren't that many, where there isn't that much representation, if you will. It's rare that I will look at that and then use that as a negative against the movie, right. Unless they clearly went out of their way to be like...
Right. This film is in Chicago, and I didn't see a single black person.
This is
like, even when they went to the gas station, there's not a dude buying a soda.
This is in the hood of Chicago, and there's not a single black person around. You could have said it maybe in the suburbs. Come on,
right?
Now.
like I think there's both of those Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan movies from when we were kids.
Yeah.
The romantic comedies that everybody was obsessed with. One of them takes place in New York, and I don't think there's a single black person in the film. Like, there's not a single not white person kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Where the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
So it's understandable Eastern European. But I said that as a preface. Usually when I ask my next question, you go, well, I usually try to find who I look like, and
I will definitely look
like many people in this film.
No. And
so if you could play a role, what do you think you would like to tackle?
So I actually put that I was unsure. Like, I like being I'm not sure if Ray Fiennes did such a good enough job at this role. I'm like, I couldn't really picture myself doing that role. And I'm like, that's awesome that I'm not saying anything against the role of character. Like I said, I love the character in the role, but I don't see myself being that. I thought about, I have enough of the awkward, like, appeal, or not awkward appeal, but awkward vibe, to where maybe, well, I can't now do younger Zero because how old I am, but in the past, do that kind of role, or just be like Willem Dafoe's role, because that's like the most fun. I feel like that's the most fun.
Yeah.
That, or throw me in as a cameo other hotel manager.
Right. Yeah. You're one of the cross keys guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. I think, although like you said, Ray Fiennes kind of owns this role, but I do see a world where there's maybe you add a little bit, you add a sprinkling of brutal honesty into the main character of Harvey.
Fair.
That you played. Like, just a sprinkle of brutal honesty on top of the overly sentimental generosity tone, and you may have a Gustav take.
Fair.
For
Being
folks
a
at
person,
home, Omari famously did the lead of Harvey.
Elwood P. Dowd,
Elwood P. Dowd, yeah.
with his card with the
Harvey.
with his card with 2 phone numbers on it. As far as being a person that generally everybody, as far as I know, talks positively about, I can relate to that. Because, you have lots of friends and stuff like that, and people are like, yeah, oh, Ari. So I get that. But it was more the accents to do, he's Monsieur Gustav.
Yeah.
I'm not the most
Neither of us have
French
yet
accented
to
of people.
Say bonjour correctly yet.
Yeah, so I'm not the most French accent of people, or accent possessing of people. So that's the other reason why I was like, while I like the role, I don't think I could do it justice. Not even not do it at his level. It's more, if I have to be of the foreign accent,
right?
My accent's not that good.
I'm pretty in agreement with you. I think there's almost every male role in this film I think I could tackle, and I think I would enjoy maybe tackling, except for Gustav and Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, however, the one thing, I don't know, I would be interested. I don't imagine I would care for that rigid of directing. This is somebody who's only acted amateurly. I have only directed things amateurly, but I usually exist in a much looser frame of mind.
Having been directed by you, yes.
What is apparently going on a Wes Anderson set. Like, even in my most meticulously planned out things, I'm going to give my actors instructions on blocking of what locations on the stage I would like them to be in at what parts of the scenes, but I am not going to tell them that I want them to raise their right hand in a gesture at this line. And like, you have to, on some level, I guess you don't have to, because Wes Anderson makes great films, but yeah, I feel like you have to allow your actor to find that moment.
Yeah.
And if they don't find it, maybe they'll find something else that you weren't thinking of.
Yeah.
But how would you feel? Have you?
I don't think I've been. I don't think I've had anybody that meticulous myself, but I kind of agree with you as far as, okay, I want to be able to do something, like when it comes to delivering lines, but at the same time,
if you
do,
the Mr. P school, who was always very loose. He gave you locations, basically what I described.
Yeah.
He's like, at the start of your monologue, I want you at the front of the desk. Well, obviously when you're talking to Cheryl, I want you looking at Cheryl. In that one moment when you get really mad at Tom, take a few steps towards Tom and show him that you're angry at him. It was that kind of thing. But he's not telling you, like,
the angle,
this word.
This particular gesture, this word, every time. However, if I were to act for him, based on the fact that he does make you do it a specific way and stuff, while I may not enjoy the experience, I might end up doing the similar job of role, because that's how I'm supposed to inflect it based off of what he's saying. Now, obviously, I'm not taking anything away from Ray Fiennes' actual talent and all this. I'm just saying, theoretically, I could come close, because it's like, if you're doing the role for him, then yeah, you're doing it. At least 80% of that. But
so, we've we talked about the man Wes Anderson ad nauseum. I think we covered a good chunk of the movie pretty good without really spoiling a whole lot of internal details that I don't know if it's, there's other things going on that we haven't really gone into, like I said, like Zero is in a romantic relationship with Saoirse Ronan's character and the bakery, and they end up getting involved with, that's kind of how they end up
the Mendel's thing.
So that's a good portion of it, and we didn't get into a whole lot of talk about the family that is countering Gustav, played by Adrian Brody, and the sisters, and so they're both very interesting and stuff. And just want to make sure, we didn't go crazy about every single detail about the movie, but I think we capped it well. I'm curious what your thoughts were. I'm also curious if you plan on seeking out anything else from this director.
As far as my thoughts on the movie, cool movie. I'm not sure if it was actually British humor. I know I've used that term like 8 times throughout this thing.
Well, no, it's not. He's from Texas.
Well, yes, but
Ray Fiennes may have been the only British person involved.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm not sure if British humor, but it has a distinctive humor about it. Not sure when I'd rewatch it, but well, I'd say I'm not sure when I'd rewatch it, considering that's what I typed for my note. But I'm not sure when I'd rewatch it. But it was better than I thought.
I'm not really interested in rewatch. I don't know if
it was better than I thought it would be at opening. I'd say I'm not sure when I'd rewatch it. It's not. It's more like if it was on, I definitely would watch it again.
And then what happened?
And then I come to work, and then I go to work today, and someone turns the movie on the main TV at work. I'm like, I literally watched that last night, so I guess I was gonna rewatch it today. And like I said, it was good. And I was even trying to explain it to an elder lady that wasn't getting it. Like, what is this about? She was not into it at all. I'm like, no, you see, you gotta do so. You're distracted when you're on the calls and stuff. No, you just But how does it get to this? Well, you see this and that. But how did it still doesn't? And I kept going back but then this and that. Oh, okay. Oh my goodness.
I mean,
but no, it was good. I said, I legit enjoyed it.
Can sometimes be weird. The fact that it's almost like it's a filmed stage play. When they do things like they cheat for the camera. There will be a scene where you're seeing me like this, and then when you cut to the angle that is behind me, showing the person that I'm talking to, my body position is here suddenly, so that you can have that view of the person I talk to. And then you cut back to my angle and I'm like this. That's not a flub. That's done intentionally as part of his. It's just one of those very subtle, small things that will happen very consistently in this movie that he doesn't care about. He wants you to see the entire bust of the very nice suit that he's put this guy in. So move out of the way of my camera. It doesn't matter to him. And so I think all of those things, it just creates this thing that people are just immediately, a curtain comes down and they're like, I don't understand it. looks weird. People are talking weird. I don't know.
Exactly. It was definitely distinctive, but because I didn't know if it was British or whatever kind of humor, I was telling people, I was like, look, it's not going to be for everybody. It's okay. I liked it, but I understand that it's not going to, it may not be for you. Which we've been arguing too. But no, great movie. Happy I've seen it, actually. Like, and it wasn't so much I'm never planning on rewatching it. It was like I would rewatch it, but it's not like, oh, I'm gonna watch this all the time. That's why I'm like not sure when I'd rewatch it. I don't know when I'd be in the mood, but I could see myself one day being like, let me watch this again.
Do you think you'd seek out anything from his catalog on your own? Or
Eventually,
you think someone would have to put on Royal Tenenbaums or Rushmore?
I eventually would want to see stuff like your Fantastic Mr. Foxes, your Royal Tenenbaums, and stuff of that nature, or films that, you know,
if you're interested
well
in the
known.
stop motion, the newer one is Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs. Oh yeah. Fair. I remember you mentioning that earlier in this video. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember hearing about that one as well. So I just don't know when I would get around to watching it. It's not that I don't ever plan on watching it. I just don't know when I'd get around to watching it because of my schedule at this point.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, but I would recommend it to other people, especially if you like things that are kind of their own distinctive form of humor, you know, and very much quintessential. I'm someone that gets a kick out of, I don't want to say stereotypes, but people or characters that are just quintessentially that. Like they are the epitome of like themselves, if you will. And so this, I think that's what I like about Wes Anderson is even if I got the wrong country of humor, I still realized it was its own category within the first couple of scenes. And that's great to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm glad you ended up enjoying it. You know, I knew that it was a dicey role, but it's as soon as it's like I said when I started this, it's almost a genre of itself. So it's almost like you had said, I've never seen a horror movie. And so I was like, well, I gotta throw out a Wes Anderson film.
That was hilarious. I kind of want to talk about that unless you're saving that movie or that for later.
What?
The thing that we were just referring to.
The horror movie?
Yeah, the quote unquote horror movie. Cause it was like you were like, have you seen What We Do in the Shadows? And I go, no, I don't really watch much horror.
Right. Well, I even forgot about that conversation. I was just throwing it out. Like it's like it's.
Oh no! I think I said that
you haven't
when you
seen
did.
a Wes Anderson. It's like
I'm
you
about to
saying
say, yeah.
you haven't seen a genre, like an entire genre of film.
Oh, I thought
So
you were just quoting
open
me.
this. No. I could have easily said it's like you've never seen an action film before.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, I forgot about your horror quote.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the first time you asked early on in the episode, you're like, you familiar with Wes Anderson stuff? I don't watch a lot of horror.
Yeah, and I was like, what? And then that's when we realized Wes Craven thing, yeah. All right, so we forgot to talk about it.
Didn't we though?
The customer, the viewers are going to see my live reaction, real time. What are we watching next week, Omari?
All right, so you hit me with another like award-winning film that won a lot of awards and stuff like that.
5 Oscars, nominated for 6 others.
I don't
What you got?
know how many awards this film won, but it is considered a classic and I was surprised that I had seen
Which
it.
is
and you
80% of
hadn't.
movies, according to you.
No, I mean classic. The Godfather. Because I think you said you hadn't seen it.
Ah ha ha!
So I
Folks, I'm
decided
an
to
embarrassment. I've never seen The Godfather.
I was like, I'm gonna keep this in the chamber for the next time he suggests to me like an award-winning film, so I don't respond
it's just too
with
long,
like.
and it
so
never
I don't,
came up.
No, I'm saying so I don't respond with like Molly's Game. I'm like,
All right.
no. I'm like,
Fair.
all right, you gave me an award-winning film. Here's The
Yeah.
Godfather. I have
You get to
seen
give it back to me finally. I have never
Mm-hmm.
seen The Godfather. It's been a black hole in my film legacy. I think I've started it once or twice in my life, and it's not like I gave up on it, but it's like got called to action somewhere, had to leave or something like that. Because that's probably usually when I would have started it, is when I have like a day off just sitting at and I was like, well, I'm just sitting at home. All right, well, might as well watch this 3.5-hour movie.
In a similar vein to how long it is, that is one thing I did remember about watching it, because I haven't seen it in like 15 years. But I'm like, I know this is considered by many like film. You want a lesson in film, kid? You watch The Godfather. You know.
All right, well, I'm excited to see that. That's gonna finally check that box.
Yeah, and I'll rewatch it so I can remember why it checks that box. So yeah, we'll see you next week. If you want to find me elsewhere, you can find me elsewhere on YouTube with the Whatever We Want podcast. New episodes every week, every Wednesday. Even had an
that guy
episode
that you
recently.
had on last week, he was sexy.
I'm on every week. No, even recently, we had Bill on an episode last week.
I was very happy to be there. They asked me who I would rather fight in an arena, Tony the Tiger or Barney the Dinosaur, and then we spoke for like 40 minutes. It was beautiful.
I enjoyed it just as much, buddy. Also, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Giotavi. That is Giotavi. Come on in. Stop on by. Bill,
Gotta get that Instagram.
Gotta get that Instagram. Bill, you got anything to say to people, anywhere they can find you?
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Adios.
Adios. Just says Obari on everything.